What a week it has been. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be this tumultuous. I've been inundated with messages, a lot of support, a lot of just outright madness, and then some trying to have a conversation. But the conversations always come with caveats when it comes from that side. It's always a case of, you know, you need to read all of this stuff before we can talk. And that's my experience with the Yoga is Dead podcast too. It's read all of our articles, then we might be able to have a chat. I started reading all their articles only for them to say, no, you're not reading it like we read it, so therefore it's wrong. It's this interesting world, and I think anyone else who listened to this podcast that found it unsettling for the same reasons. They just put the collective front and center of everything. It's us as Indian girls, you as white people. There's no individual responsibility in anything you do. So that absolves you from everything, You are just your culture. You are just the skin tone you have. And you find that coming up throughout this. And once I understand that's how they saw the world, it becomes very obvious what moves they're going to do. That's why it was so easy to call them out and know straight away, as people that follow my Instagram will know, I called the fact that they would mention my race and gender almost immediately. Because that's how they see the world. It's just those two things. This is a power struggle. And they've realized they can manipulate the power struggle by really playing on the fact that they are people of color instead of just a person. They're very scared to stand out on their own. Now, that is not to say that they don't cover some important things in their podcast. They so do. And that's the real shame about this whole thing, is that I think there's a whole market that they've lost because of their unwillingness to just drop it, to just talk in terms that are inclusive. And that's one of the things they talk about massively, inclusivity and mindfulness, at the same time really cussing white people in general throughout the podcast. So I just think a lot of their points are missed. And for those of you who keep coming back to me saying, you missed their point, I got their points. I just don't think you should be making points while also simultaneously saying things like white women are generally tearing each other apart and there's a culture of insecurity amongst them. Like, just making these sweeping statements, I just don't think is helpful for anyone. Even if they were true, if I'm honest, I just don't think it's helpful. We did that in the past. It didn't work out great for everyone, especially in parts of the world that I'm from. It wasn't very nice. And yet they just ignore that and go, well, we're going to do it different. And because we're so righteous, we won't be able to get it wrong. That's my take on it anyway. By all means, listen to their podcast. If you don't, no, I don't want to say if you don't. Listen to the podcast. Make your own decision up. Make your own mind up. I will save you that hour. I've had to listen to it 3 times, which has been painful, but also illuminating. Each time I listen to it, there's other things I find out, other hypocrisies I find. And then also, again, there are some good points. The first time I listened, I was upset by it, so I kind of missed some of those points. This time I listened, I got some of those points. So I'm going to give my account of it now. So without further ado, how did Yoga is Dead kill yoga?